Hey, welcome back. And I'm very fascinated with how we rent things. Sometimes we're renting things and we don't even know whether we've rented it. Okay, we're not cognitive of that fact. But here I have Harsh with me, the founder of RentSher, who's going to talk about the psychology of renting in this country and how he's going to make big money out of it. And he's already expanded globally. He's in 4 cities in the UAE.
Yes, that's right.
And by the way, I mean, it's interesting that Indian startups expand in global regions, and
Yeah.
you're in 7 cities in India.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about RentShare. It's about renting everything from electronics to what else? What do you call it? Events stuff and also equipments, right?
Absolutely. So RentShare in one line is an omni-channel rental concierge service for you. That means that if you're looking for anything on rental basis, then we are the people, and you can reach us over a call, WhatsApp, you can book online, and RentShare will be there to provide services through over 700 partners that we have across India as well as in UAE now. So as you rightly said, right from the day we started this company, we knew that this is a global phenomena. I was in a corporate job for 12 years. I was looking around for, what is the next thing to do. I looked at education, healthcare, but I knew that re-commerce is a wave which will come after the wave of e-commerce that we have seen in India as well as the West. And that's where the whole idea started. And we launched RentShare early in 2016. And we have grown from one strength to the other.
Which is great. So, I mean, for example, if you go abroad, you can rent this coat, for example. Yes. The Calvin Klein, you can go get it, but it's expensive. But right. I had to buy it, but otherwise I could rent it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's going to change in India, no?
That will change in India. I remember. So I was in Oxford in 2007, along with my co-founder, Mr. Vaibhav Doshi. And, we were on very limited budget doing our MBA. But every black tie dinner and every graduation, and we used to, rent cars to go to London to have dinner. Dinner was not on rental; it was we paid for it. But basically, we survived like 1.5 years primarily on a low budget, doing all these rental things. Even when my parents came over to UK, I was fortunate. I rented mattresses for them for a weekend, and that got me thinking that look, this is one thing that we in India have been doing traditionally for ages. Like we've always, rented a shamiana. We've always rented chairs for events. We've rented costumes for our kids. But it
was fragmented though.
Very fragmented. When I looked at the market, I started surveying it in 2015. I spent a good 6 months understanding the market landscape and realized that this is the right time to aggregate the whole market, bring it to one platform and offer it to the customers. So that's where we started.
That's how it started. But the first day spent working on the tech itself.
Absolutely.
Probably several mistakes also made. Do you want to tell us what you learned from the first year?
Like every enthusiastic startup, so we started with the concept of a peer-to-peer rentals, which is thumbs up from the sustainability point of view. In fact, RentShare even today stands for sustainability. Having said that, there are certain operational aspects around peer-to-peer renting which are still not solved in India. It will take another decade or so for, ubiquitous insurance, delivery, etc. to come here. So we say that, so our customer demand was always more than the supply for the first 1 year. And that's where we got to pull together a platform which you see today on rentshare.com. Anyone and everyone from the smallest, like if I want to rent this blazer, I can rent it out on RentShare. Yeah. And if I have a full store of blazers, I can also enroll and list all my products free of cost on rentshare.com. And that's where people come and book it like as easy as booking a flight ticket, because they just have to select which date to which date they want it and blah.
How do you convince these vendors? Say, I'm going to give out blazers as a retailer.
Sure.
So you have to go convince a retailer of a different business model. They say, I mean, you've got brick and mortar costs, you're paying your rental, your inventory is not selling, you might as well do a rental business. But do they get it?
So there are 2 kinds of vendors again. One is who have been doing this for ages. It's all that I have to go and tell them that during off season, your inventory is underutilized. See, rental is all a game of utilizing your inventory, right? Making the maximum turnaround over it. So for example, we are, at least not India's, maybe Bangalore's largest provider for projectors. During World Cup, we did around 70 live setups of projectors around Bangalore. So all that I have to tell these vendors is, look, your underutilized inventory will make it better utilized. So for them, it's a no-brainer. For the people who I have actually migrated some of the owners to renters, that's about additional income.
Projectors I understand, but what about the retail shirts, I heard there are businesses
Yes.
coming like that, brick
Right.
and mortar stores
Yes.
that offer rental.
Absolutely.
Will
there
Indians
again,
take to it?
so again, I'm not very sure about how and when India will accept that. For us, I think apparels is less than 5% of our business. We are primarily focusing on events, electronics, and equipment, which is a very need-based business.
Very true.
So the way RentSher has progressed from one strength to the other is that I don't go and convince a customer that, look, you have an option to buy versus rent. I am only targeting products which you have to rent. So for example, a medical wheelchair, God forbid if there's an emergency for a month or so, you don't want to buy a wheelchair and keep it in your house. You need it for your elderly people or whatever. So you can actually rent it for a couple of months. Similarly, for baby products, so all the way from,
I've
say,
seen that on your website.
yeah, cradle to grave is what we say that.
Because I've seen wheelchairs also.
Yeah, right.
Right?
So another example where we have helped a lot of customers is things like medical bed. So today an Apollo or Fortis will cost you 7,000 a night to stay there. You can rent a medical bed at the same price in your house and get a nurse from Portia.
7,000 per
month.
Per month instead
Yes.
of a day.
Absolutely. So you can actually rent a fully automated medical bed, a 5-function medical bed, and have a nurse from Portia come take care of your great grandmother while she has the comfort of her home.
Yes,
not
nowadays instead of great grandmother, it's also turned to your mother.
Well, yeah.
That's the problem with current lifestyles. Right?
I know. It's tough.
But when I look at rentals, right, it's so fascinating, right? I mean, we did it for birthdays always.
Yes.
But we'd always scramble to call somebody and say, hey, do you know that guy? That guy said, let me find out. And it was not organized.
Absolutely.
How do you get into this fragmented ecosystem and solve it?
So first on the point that you said, 12 years living in Bangalore, but if you say, call up in the next Shamiana guy in Canada, I think I'll struggle, right?
Because of the migration, which is point is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Bangalore is a very cosmopolitan city. You have people of different languages, about 10, 12 different languages at any given point in time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it's better to have a common platform.
And what I will do is I'll actually go on Google and search for a Shamiana on rent, right? Whether or not I find something. So there were two
And I'll
options.
call that number.
Exactly. So there were two options. Either you have a just dial kind of a listing where you have to go through around 10 people, compare the prices, and still your heart is, beating that what will come on my kid's birthday, I don't know.
I know, because you paid you don't know whether the product is correct, whether it's vetted.
Right.
I can tell you about a funeral. I mean, sorry, we are getting grim here, but we called this is a funeral manual, and we called for a ice coffin.
Yes,
right.
right.
And the ice coffin didn't work. And so,
it's a pain.
It's a pain. At that point of time when you're emotional, you don't know who to call, and then the elders are screaming at you saying, this is why we don't trust these
guys.
That's why you validate, vet.
Absolutely.
You've got 700 vendors.
So the 700 vendors are people who we have seen the services and they are on board. And just answer to your question, like in 2017, I had a vendor management team kind of going and meeting them. From 2018, I've seen a good shift and I'm so happy about it. Every day around 2 or 3 vendors sign up on our website stating that they want to list their products, which is, like what you say, sitting in my office, I can have all these vendors listed out. And on the point about the event, so we had a tagline like any life event, simply rent, which means that whether it's a very happy occasion like a birthday, wedding or so on, all the way to, as you said, a grim event, you need something on a short-term basis. And that's where RentSher kind of pitches.
By the way, they also give refrigerators.
Yes.
So that's interesting. People keep refrigerators on rent. Huh?
So
how long? What time? What is the timeline of these contracts?
Absolutely. So anywhere, I would say for a few hours. So you're organizing a party and you want to keep all the kids' cold drinks in a refrigerator, you can actually rent it for a few hours. All the way for, we call it the bachelor pads, where before getting married, you got to have some fridge because ultimately your wife decides your fridge.
Yes.
But before that, for 3 months, 6 months, you need a fridge, so you can rent it.
You can rent, and also you get to barbecue grills.
Absolutely. So one of our biggest, I would say, target market or strengths now is our millennial population, and they want to party every weekend, right? Yes. So they need a poker set, they need a barbecue, and some of them need a hookah set. Fine. So all that as a package is available on RentSher.com.
You can consolidate and sell.
Yeah. So it's like as simple as booking 3-4 things on Flipkart, except that it comes on a date and time specified by you as a customer. That's a big difference that we brought about.
Okay, and it's what, 4 hours delivery or something?
Absolutely.
Like that?
So within 4 hours, we deliver anywhere in all the 7 metro cities that we
You know,
have.
talk a little bit about your competition. There are concierge services.
Right.
Obviously, we can always say that there's space for everybody in India because it's such a large market.
Yes.
You know, you said earlier that from commerce to e-commerce to re-commerce.
Yes.
That's been the journey for India.
Yes.
E-commerce can happen over the next 10 years because now the e-commerce journey is going to be 10, 12 years into the journey, right?
Yes.
I want to know, at what stage do you see your business scaling up? Will you see a lot of bloodbath in your market? Will you see consolidation?
Sure.
What's happening with you? I mean, what are your plans to survive, grow in this?
Definitely. A very good question. So from our point of view, I think just if you look at as an concierge service on rentals, I would say there's hardly anyone there. Okay, especially in the 2 countries that we are there, India as well as in UAE. In fact, I can tell you that in UAE, RentSher is the only provider to do party services across the nation.
And by the way, it's also a migratory population.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah.
several
So
different cultures.
and drop of the hat. They have a winter party, summer party, and whatever. Or Ramadan is a big month for us. So that is one aspect. In terms of the actual competition, I see more from the likes of Court in US, which is doing a lot of event furniture.
Court.
Yeah, CORT.
Court. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. CORT. Yes.
Yeah, they are a 450 million annual revenue, and they are a
Not GMV.
Not GMV. They are a revenue,
Okay.
a concierge service that they're doing. In the market of US. Similarly, in Europe now there are a couple of players like Grover's is there and so on.
Correct.
But in India and Middle East, I don't think there is any.
What I'd like, but there are concierge services.
Yes.
There are.
Yeah.
So, but not in the equipment space.
Not in the equipment space, not in the electronic. So just to
You
give,
also do B2B, right? You want to tell us
Absolutely.
that?
So another standard example, because we help over 100 plus startups and SMEs with their complete IT infrastructure. So anywhere from laptops, desktop servers. So if a company is like seed funded and they are expanding from 20 employees to 100, so 80 employees into 50,000, 4 crore rupees, they cannot spend on laptops and so on. So that's where they come to us and we provide them their complete IT equipment service. That existed already, but as an offline player. Now RentSher actually provides them the quality, service, AMC on top of that.
So you're saying you will survive, you
Yes.
will thrive. There is a market out there.
Absolutely.
So the question is, would you have to raise more money, continuously raise money because you have signed in more vendors? But you have a good B2B business also that can generate cash
Absolutely.
faster than the B2C model.
Yes. So we get around 60% of our orders, like as you and I are sitting here. I'm sure around 15 to 20 orders are already generated where people are booking online things. So that's a very good thing. In terms of survival, I just have 2 things. So RentSher is the only asset light or inventory less model that is there, which means that on each order that we generate, we get around 20% margin, which is based on the inventory of our providers. So that's actually a neat, profitable business.
It's a cost per service offered, right?
Exactly.
You charge a margin on that.
Yes, we charge a
And
margin.
obviously, and I also want to know, the cash burn here is high for you in terms of marketing, sales.
Actually, it is not. Because if I come back to the first thing that I said, so I define rental as a need-based business. I can tell you that the cost of customer acquisition for me is less than 200. And on days like Independence Day and Halloween, it is less than 12 rupees. Because people are looking for a Gandhi costume or a Halloween costume.
But you spend to show up on Google.
That's the
but
only
that's
one.
something that you can't get rid of, that monopoly, and that's scary.
Well, for around 70 plus categories, we are already in SEO.
Will it go organic? At what stage do you think it'll go organic, where people come directly to site instead of saying, find me a Shamiana?
Yeah,
find me this?
sure. So we have around 60,000 customers who are spreading the word of mouth. If you look at sort of Facebook and Google reviews, so RentSher is like way ahead in terms of competition. And these 60,000 first customers that I have serviced in the last 2 years are my channels of organic growth. So every year, and this is like the 3rd year it will be from October, each birthday party, they come back to us. And the 20 kids who are sitting and watching the RentSher setup, they tell their parents they want a similar ball pit, and that's how
The
RentSher.
repeats are important.
The repeats is around 40% for us, which is quite a help.
Which is great. So you'll be raising more money. You're in UAE, you said
Yes.
4 cities there.
Right.
And,
So
obviously in India too, 5 cities in India?
Yeah, so we are in 5
And
cities.
you're expanding?
So in India, the expansion is next another 5 cities. Our next target is actually our home country called UK. So we believe that there's a lot. So explanation wise, the
Why do you
technology.
say home country?
So-
Because you studied there.
Yeah, so me and Weber, we believe that there's a large market for rentals in UK and Europe. In terms of the technology, it's being developed here in India. We have a very good tech team led by an ex-Googler. So she's got like 10 years of experience and developing the next level of consumer app, vendor app, and so on. And the same technology will be used to scale up, whether it's to UK, Germany, and so on. So that's what we are
So
targeting.
you're targeting about 10 million people today.
Yes.
That's the first
That's
task.
the first task that we have. And in terms of, so you've asked a couple of times about funding. So for 2018, we have already got, another interest from UAE and Saudi-based investors who want to invest and take RentSher to a further level. So we are just holding back because we want to scale up to a certain size, maybe around 10 million in terms of GMV, and then take it from there.
Okay, it's about a 60 billion market globally.
Yes.
Right?
So rental has been around a 30 billion market as of now. And with a 20-25% CAGR, we expect it to be around 60 billion in the next 5 years.
Okay, let's take some audience questions because there are wonderful answers from you, and
Sure.
I think you like these questions.
Definitely.
So this is Arish. He says a friend of mine was working on a similar concept to share or rent items directly from neighbors, but found it very difficult to scale.
Yeah.
He says the problem was it was difficult to get user list. It was difficult to get the users to list the items themselves and coordinate with each other. How can one build trust to ensure that the transaction is smooth? It's a good question.
Arish, definitely a good question. And I myself have advised, I would say, half a dozen startups into the peer-to-peer rental space. And the whole idea is that it will take a mind shift change for people to put their product on a rental basis, because it's not just the financial value, it's also the emotional value. So if you remember the scene from Three Idiots and the Sherwani which got damaged, right? So if my Sherwani gets damaged, like, you'll actually sue the company. So there is a mind shift change for peer-to-peer renting required. It's gone big, by the way, in UK. Like Fat Llama just closed a $10 million pound
That's
round.
just peer-to-peer. I can just put this on a rental.
Absolutely, it's pure peer-to-peer. And Grover's in Germany raised 22 million. It's based on peer-to-peer. India, I believe we have ample supply on the vendors part, which is what RentSher is banking upon.
Which is good. So that's what Shimal asks, okay?
Sure.
She says, how do you ensure security of the products that you rent out? I mean, because the vendor then wants to have it back in one piece.
Absolutely. So Shimal, again, a good question. From RentSher point of view, we have a couple of things. One is that the address and ID verification of the person is always there, so that if there's any theft, loss, or damage, it can be taken care of. And in our 2 years, what we have seen is people are generally more careful when they rent anybody else's product, because there's a cost of replacement. See, you don't want to pay a cost of replacement of 20,000 for a laptop if you're using it only for a month. So people are generally more careful. The other thing is our partners or vendors are able to support us with all sorts of service, maintenance, and repairs. So RentSher is basically the CRM and the finance arm for all these 700 partners.
So today B2B would be the largest business?
No, B2B is around 40%.
40%, which is a good mix.
Yes, it's
a good mix.
and ultimately it is B2B2C. So for example, Zomato took 110 laptops from us, but those are for their 110 call center people sitting in Gurgaon. Each of them is using a RentSher laptop and they know it.
Okay, before the final question, there's a regular watcher.
Sure.
We haven't met him, but he's a businessman. His name is Ronak Damani. He says Harsh, and yes, he says he uses your second name of Dhand, right?
Yes.
Harsh Dhand. I have used your service and I have rented high-end workstations.
Okay.
It is flawless. Thank you for being there. There you go. That's customer validation, and they haven't paid us for it. That's okay, right? Okay. The last question is Tamil. Okay. Tamil Maran, he asked a question. How does RentSher generate revenues?
Sure.
This is Maran. He says, how does RentSher generate revenues? Do you take a part of the renting cost? Also, are products insured? He says, are they insured if you have to rent them or something on your plan?
Yeah, this is Ron.
Maran.
Hi, Mr. Maran. So RentSher is actually, on a unit economics level positive from day one, because on each order there is a margin share anywhere from around 20 to 25% that we generate on each order, and that's because of the services like customer relationship management, booking, as well as payment that we offer to customers as well as to vendors. And from a point of view of insurance, so by definition, rental is a deemed transfer of ownership for a stipulated period of time. which means we encourage our end users, especially if they are institutional like Zomato and Koho and all. So they take insurance of on-premise for the equipment, especially when the equipment cost rises above 30 or 40 grand.
That's great. I mean, you've been a wonderful, guest here, and I would want to tell you that, start renting. If you're migrating, start renting. Okay?
If you're having a party,
And
start
till
renting.
you make your spouse happy. You can rent, right? That doesn't mean you can rent a spouse, right? On that note, go to RentSher. You're wonderful. And you're wonderful as well.
Sure.
Harsh, I'll see you soon. And
Yes.
all the best to you. Look forward to re-commerce becoming a $1 billion business in India.
Definitely. Same
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.